now what we're doing is we're looking to move to the construction phase. So basically with the feasibility study that we produced in July, it was very positive from an economic perspective, but we felt that we could do better. So right now what we're doing is we're working on optimization of that feasibility study, whether that be through mine plan, life of mine, et cetera, and just optimizing those numbers.
Hi and welcome to the Assay TV. I'm very pleased to be joined today by Mark Brennan, Executive Chairman of Ascendant Resources. Ascendant Resources is a Toronto-based mining company focused on the exploration and development of the highly prospective Lagoa Salgada VMS project, which is located on the prolific Iberian Pyrite Belt in Portugal. So thanks so much for joining us today, Mark.
Well, thank you very much for having me.
So maybe to get us going, perhaps you could give us a brief overview of Ascendant Resources as a company to get our viewers up to speed.
Fantastic. Well, as you mentioned, we're focused on the Lagoa Salgada project on the western tip of the Iberian Pyrite Belt. And we've been moving this project ahead very aggressively for the last 5 years. And we're now at a very exciting juncture. We're optimizing the feasibility study that we recently put out, which had some very positive economics. And now what we're doing is we're looking to move to the construction phase. So basically with the feasibility study that we produced in July, it was very positive from an economic perspective, but we felt that we could do better. So right now what we're doing is we're working on optimization of that feasibility study, whether that be through mine plan, life of mine, et cetera, and just optimizing those numbers. And then on top of that, what we're doing is we're also looking at improving our metallurgical recoveries and other facets, which will really help in terms of the economics. So, where we landed on the last feasibility study was with basically a net present value of about $140 million with a capital build of about $154 million. What we see is hopefully the remainder of the present value around the capital cost build about 150, but at the same point seeing a fairly significant improvement to our net present value. And we're not sure whether we moved from 2 million tons per annum down to 1.2 million tons per annum for the feasibility from the PEA. We believe that probably the 1.4 to 1.6 million tons per annum will be a better mark for us. And on the back of that, we expect to see obviously significant improvement to the MPV numbers and the unit costs. What we have right now is with a 14-year mine life, a very strong first 5 years. But then what we need to do is see the build in the back end of the project. And I think that probably we'll see a little bit of the shortening of the project in terms of the life of mine, not significantly, but a little bit. But then also some significant improvements in terms of unit costs, et cetera, when we move forward. But the nice thing with the existing feasibility study is it's still highly economic. Puts us in a position where we'd be a low-cost producer, certainly for the first 5 years. We're out there now, as you're well aware, on the funding drive, and we put out a press release last night talking how we've selected an international bank to come in and provide us with project funding in conjunction with the UK government export credit agency UKEF. And our hope and expectation is that we'll be able to roll up construction funding by sometime just after the end of the first quarter. So from that perspective, these are pretty exciting times for us.
Great, yeah, it definitely sounds like it. And I understand the company's also satisfied all the conditions to increase its ownership of the project to 80%. So what does that mean for Ascendant and the project moving forward?
Well, obviously the greater equity interest that Ascendant has in Lagoa Salgada is very important. The moving to 80% was a very significant milestone for the company, for Ascendant. Now what we're looking at is it kind of meant that we rushed the feasibility a little bit, and I think had we had more time, we probably would have delayed the publication of the feasibility and gone to this optimization strategy that we're engaged in right now. But again, it was so important for us to hit that milestone, get to that 80% mark, that we decided to publish the numbers as they were, because they were still very, very encouraging. They're still very significant. We had an after-tax IRR of about 39%. which is still moderate, is still exceptional in the mining sector.
Great. So now we've looked at the numbers, maybe we can shift over to some of the results from Lagoa Salgada. Back in May, the company confirmed saleable grade concentrates for several metals. So can you talk us through that process and what the next steps are there?
Sure. One of the most significant components of any project on the Iberian Pyrite Belt is the metallurgy, and getting to the point where you're in a position to be at a saleable concentrate. And we made significant progress with respect to the from the PA over to the feasibility study, to the point where we had sign off on a saleable product that we had. I guess our consultants had discussions with the refineries and companies to look at buying that. So that was a very material and important facet for us. And obviously that's something that will continue on an indefinite period. All the companies on the Pyrite Belt continue to improve their metallurgy. That's one way that they can really significantly reduce their costs, drive their profitability, and that's something we'll continue to do, and that's something we are doing. So as part of this process, we announced on Monday the engagement of Val Coetzee. Val is one of the most predominant mining processors out there. He's a very, very significant individual. He comes to us from DRA, ran their processing operations out of South Africa, and he will have a very material impact in terms of the new test program that we have, which is being conducted now. Hopefully, we'll have preliminary results before the end of the year, and what we should see is a significant improvement again. So we're making very, very good progress on our metallurgy, which is a really key component for any project on the Pyrite Belt.
Great. Sounds very exciting. And if we just go back to the financing, so you mentioned it a bit earlier as well. The company announced potential export credit agency support back in July. So what's the update there, and how's the company looking finance-wise for the coming year?
Sure. So I mean, what's very exciting for us, and I think this is a huge asset for our company, is the fact that the UK government and the Export Credit Agency of the UK, called UKEF, have agreed to support our project on the basis that the project confirms the initial diligence that they've done, and we don't expect any modifications to that. Now, we actually announced overnight that that we've had a tender process which was oversubscribed. We had a number of banks that were vying to look at funding with UKEF the Lagoa Salgada project. And so what we've done is we've chosen a bank, an international bank, that's very strong with project funding, very strong with export credit funding. And the reality is that what we're doing now is we're working on our underwriting agreement with them, and we hope to have that announced early in November. And basically what that leads us to is a point where they'll go through a due diligence process, legal, ESG, technical. I believe the technical and legal will probably be the shorter components of the diligence process, probably concluding by sometime the end of January, February type timeframe. The ESG, in my view, will probably take a little longer. It really is a focus on most banks and lots of funders today. It's a real hot button, as you're well aware. So hopefully we can get that concluded by the end of February kind of timeframe, and then from there we move to paper. And again, I hope early in the second quarter that we can be in a position to bring this project to construction. So that would dovetail very nicely with our expectation of getting the permit for the project sometime in the February-March period.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much for talking us through that, Mark. And sounds like there's lots of potential news to come, and we'll keep an eye out over the next few months.
It is certainly a very exciting and will be a very transformational next 6 months for Ascendant and Lagoa Salgada. So we're very excited by it.
Great. We look forward to hearing more from you. Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, Alice.